Soon we're going to have the Global Mercy coming online. You can't help but be moved by the things that you see here. That's life-changing and it's life-giving.
Welcome to Mercy Ships. My name's Anne Buckland. I'm the Global Campaign Manager for Mercy Ships, and we are in the studio today on board the Global Mercy as part of the Come On Board season. So what we have an opportunity to do in these couple of weeks is not just celebrate the Global Mercy and everything that she will achieve, but also celebrate everything that is Mercy Ships. So the impact that every single person who takes part in Mercy Ships, whether that's praying, whether that's partnering, whether that's volunteering, is part of the overall story of Mercy Ships. So in the studio today with me is Rose and Polina. Hiya.
Hi, nice to see
Hi.
you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Now both of you have actually volunteered on the Africa Mercy, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
But at different times. So Rose, tell me a bit about when you volunteered.
Sure. So I was on the Africa Mercy from 2017 to 2019. So I served both field services in Cameroon and Guinea. And I served on the communications team. I was one of the writers on board.
Perfect. So you've heard a lot of stories.
I've heard a lot of stories. Yes, the best part of my job.
And Paulina?
Yeah, I've been on the ship 2 times in 2007 and 2008. And I've been the hairdresser on board. I've worked in the kitchen. I worked in the dining room. So all kind of different tasks that I did. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about being a hairdresser on board.
Yeah, that was the most fun. Yeah, I was a hairdresser for the volunteers itself. A lot of people thought that I was gonna have the African people, but they can do their hair themselves. But yeah, on board we need somebody who keeps the men with short hair and the ladies with the beautiful long hair or color, perms, everything. So yeah, I saw a lot of people, the captain, the chaplains, everybody came in my chair and had a story and a haircut.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about that. What did that look like day to day?
Well, you just had your work schedule and people could sign in. So they just, outside the hair salon, you could sign up your name and explain what you wanted to have done, if you wanted to have a color or a cut or anything. And yeah, then you came into my chair and tell me a lot of stories about what was going on, just like your regular hairdresser, only a little bit warmer. Yeah.
And so is there one story that sticks in, or one moment that sticks in your mind the most?
Yeah, there's one moment that was for me a really special moment. And when I was there, we were gonna sail out, so we were leaving Africa to go to dry dock and everything, and there was a nurse, and she was a little bit frustrated because they wanted to help a baby, and the baby wasn't strong enough for the operation, but the nurse was confident that the baby was strong enough, so she was a little bit frustrated. And then I had a surgeon in my chair, and I was telling the story to him and his wife, and I was telling like, oh, she's a little bit frustrated. And it's a sad story. So I cut his hair, and I was cutting his wife's hair, and he was walking away. So she asked, "What are you gonna do?" And he said, "I'm gonna operate on that baby." So for me, I had a small opportunity to help a patient on the ship with telling stories that I heard. So that is, for me, that's a very special memory. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And what was very special was that, yeah, I was the only person, that they can talk to, that can touch them, that was, the one that hears the story and tell the story. So that's special. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So you don't think about, when I heard about Mercy Ships first back in the 90s, I thought medical volunteers only. Of course, that's not the case at all. But I'd never thought hairdressers either. And yet that's a really privileged position, isn't it?
It is. I was the one of the only ones that had their own room that that you can close, and so I had a special room for me and my customers.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah,
wonderful. Now, Rose, tell me a bit about volunteering on the Africa Mercy. What made you want to volunteer, first of all?
It was the stories that made me want to volunteer. So I was working as a writer before coming to the ship. And actually, I was doing a little bit of writing that involved Mercy Ships work. And I would sit there at my desk and be helping write stories for Mercy Ships, and just kept thinking, I don't want to be, sitting at a desk in the States doing this. I want to be on the ship telling these stories. The stories are just very, very powerful. I think, you're getting to meet people who are they're having their lives transformed kind of right in front of your eyes. And there's a lot of powerful stories, really courageous people that come to the ship, mothers that are bringing their children, and they're trusting a ship full of strangers, to operate on their babies, and all these different people that come to the ship each have that really powerful story. And so it was the idea of getting to be part of telling some of those stories. That was what brought me there.
And how long when you originally volunteered, how long did you think you were coming for?
I signed up for 1 year, and I was open to doing more, but I wasn't ready to commit to, doing 2 years right off the bat. And then pretty quickly, when I was volunteering, I knew that this was something really special, and I wanted to stick around for longer. So signed up for another year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is there one story that sticks in your mind the most? Like one person that you encounter? I mean, I'm sure there are many, and we will unpack some more. But who is one of the most impactful people that you encountered?
I think one of the people that comes to my mind, it was a young woman called Adama, and she came to the ship. She had started losing her vision when she was pregnant, and by the time she had her baby, she had twin babies, and by the time she had her baby, she was completely blind due to cataracts. And it was heartbreaking for her because, I remember her telling me it wasn't just the fact that I was losing my vision, which in itself is a really hard thing, but it's the fact that I lost my vision right before I had these babies, and I will never get the chance to see them, and I don't even know what their faces look like. And, that was obviously heartbreaking for her. And she was able to get surgery, so she had her cataracts removed on the Africa Mercy. And I was lucky enough to be there for the moment when she got to be reunited with her babies and see her twins for the first time after surgery. She had her eye patches taken off. It was this huge smile on her face when she realized that she could see. And then she walked over to where her sister was holding both of the babies, and she got to see them, and just the smile on her face, it was a moment I will never forget. So that's a story that always kind of sticks with me when I think about my time on the ship.
Yeah. That's amazing. What a gift to be able to see.
I know.
Gift to someone too. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry, as a new mum, that's making me kind of well up.
I know.
Because I can't imagine that, particularly to have her eyesight taken away. So just
at that stage. Yeah. So it was a pretty special moment for sure. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So Paulina, what kept you coming back to Mercy Ships as well? You volunteered with a number of roles, so what was it that?
Yeah, the reason I wanted to join Mercy Ships is because God called me, and I wanted to only be a hairdresser, and at that moment they told that they already had a hairdresser. So, but they needed somebody in the kitchen, and I was like, nah, I want to be a hairdresser. And then God asked me, who do you serve, me or yourself? And I was like, oh, sorry, God, I will go. So, that's why I first served in the kitchen and the dining room, and it was actually quite fun. It's fun to meet a lot of people. And then the hairdresser on board left and asked me if I could fill in her position. So as icing on the cake, I was allowed for my last time to be a hairdresser as well. And yeah, that was so much fun. So when I came back, I decided, I stayed in the Netherlands for a few years, and one of the people on Mercy ships who was on the Africa Mercy was telling me that they needed a hairdresser again. At the day that I decided I was quitting my job, I was like, I'm done with it. I'm quit my job, and she emailed me, "We need a hairdresser." I was like, okay. So
Amazing.
yeah, that was the reason why I came back, because of the fun experience the first time. Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. And so, Rosie, you've just been on the Africa Mercy recently, haven't you? She's returned to Senegal, and just describe a little bit about what it's been like to be back there.
Oh, it was amazing to be back on the ship. So I was on the ship for about a month. I was on the dock as the ship arrived in Dakar, and then spent about a month on the ship helping to train in the new communications team and get some stories underway. So being back on the ship was incredible to see it. It felt like it was sort of coming back to life after, some difficult times having to be away due to COVID. Seeing it come back to the place that it's been waiting to get back to, and seeing patients come on board the ship, seeing that first patient walk up the gangway again, seeing the hospital wards, all the beds getting sent back up, and patients being down in the wards. It felt there was just this energy on the ship, this excitement that we are back, we're ready to make an impact again, ready to see lives changed again. It was amazing.
Perfect. And of course, all those stories. The Global Mercy soon will be going to join the Africa Mercy by providing training as well. So that's wonderful. Yeah. What other volunteering? We've spoken a lot about the patients and the impact on the ship, but of course, the Mercy ships is so much more than the ship. Is kind of how our work gets delivered, but there is so much more to Mercy ships. What things surprised you about, particularly your first service volunteering? What things did you come across that you thought, oh, I hadn't expected that?
That's a good question. I think for me, one of the things that was one of the happiest surprises was I was not expecting just how international the ship would be. You kind of hear it so often that it kind of becomes background noise, that, volunteers from 60 different nations. But then you come on board and you realize how much the international culture shapes the experience that you have on board, and how amazing it is to be in a room and you have people from all different countries all in one place. Everyone is here for the same mission, and it's just amazing to think about all the different things that had to happen all across the world to connect everybody, to get us all in the same place at the same time. And then I think getting to learn little things about each of the different cultures. Everyone shares kind of a unique thing, shares things about their language. You're always learning different languages. And my first Christmas that I spent on board was one of my favorite times on the ship, because each culture, has their own different Christmas traditions. And so I was surprised in the best way to get to spend a Christmas just, having Dutch Christmas traditions, and then Australian Christmas traditions, and Scandinavian Christmas traditions. And you just get to pick little pieces of everyone's cultures. And I wasn't expecting it, but it was one of probably my favorite things about serving on board.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For me, well, the biggest surprise was when I had 10 people in my room. Yeah, that was a big surprise. But exactly what you said. You have so much different people with different characters, but also the culture. So that's. It's a good learning experience, and especially Christmas. Yeah, with all the different traditions. That's a lot of fun, and that was you go on the ship because you have a task to do, and that's why you think you go on the ship. But it's a life-changing experience for your own character. That was for me a big surprise. Yeah.
I think that's very common, isn't it? Particularly from the stories I'm hearing from volunteers, that they go on the ship because they want to give, but actually what gets received in return is actually quite phenomenal.
Yeah. No, that's exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Rose, you've spent a lot of time as a writer, I know, over the last couple of years documenting stories about our volunteers. who sticks in like what kind of stories stick in your mind from that side of things?
I think one of the first volunteer stories that always comes to my mind is Clementine. And Clementine is probably, you're not supposed to have favorites, but I think Clementine is one of my favorite people that I've ever met on the ship. She is just this bundle of joy, and she has been a volunteer on the ship for 24 plus years at this point. So it's really been like a lifetime dedication for her. She heard about Mercy Ships from her pastor one day when she was in Togo, and sort of this dream was just sparked in her, and she decided she had to come on board, she had to serve. That was back in the 90s, I believe. And yeah, she's just been on board ever since, and serving wherever she was needed. There's so much humility, I think, in coming on board, and kind of like you were saying earlier, like just coming on board and being like, my mission is to serve. It doesn't matter where I serve, or if it fits my background and my career goals necessarily, but I just want to give of what I have to whoever needs it. And I think that's exactly the attitude Clementine came to the ship with, and then has just continued giving and giving of herself. And I know she would say too that she's received a lot along the way as well, kind of the idea that when you're giving of yourself so genuinely, there's so much love that you receive back. And she's just made the ship her home, and everyone who meets her feels like it's their home too. And so she's definitely the person that comes to my mind as like the, just the person that you sort of want to be around when you're on the ship. Yeah.
Wow, she sounds amazing.
She is amazing.
She is.
Yeah. Yeah, you met Clementine as well?
She was on the ship when I was on the ship.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody knows her.
Yeah.
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 Brilliant. And for you, Polina, what was it? Describe to me a bit about the culture. So we know that there's the job that for you it was hairdressing, the kind of day job that you do on the ship, but obviously there's so much more to volunteering. So how did you used to fill your free time?
For free time, actually a different time. You could go out and visit churches, or we had a big screen and showed the Jesus movie in some of the villages, but also go to the beach, or just have a drink with some Mercy shippers, or things like that. And the parties on the ship were fun to go to in their free time. The dressing up, and so it's everybody's trying to organize fun things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Rose, I'm just thinking, we've talked about patience, but what other patient sticks with you? I know there's that one, but you've spoken to many patients.
I've spoken to many patients. Like I said, I really do think that was the best part of my job, was getting to meet so many different patients, and not just meet them, but follow them through their journey. So meeting them when they first came to the ship, and then sort of being by their side and following them through every step, through surgery, recovery, and then even getting to visit them in their homes afterwards. So I think another patient that comes to my mind is Pierre, little Pierre. He was about 5 years old when he came to the ship, and he came with bowed legs. So he had an orthopedic condition that he needed surgery for, and he came with his mom, Edwige. And it was a rough go from the start for them, because he unfortunately had malaria, and so they wouldn't operate on him because they want him to be in the best condition possible in order to get surgery. And so he had to wait until he was recovered from his malaria to get surgery. But we were pushing up right at the end of the surgical specialty, where if he wasn't recovered in a certain amount of time, there was a chance that he might miss his surgery. Gotcha. And so for Edwige, it was extremely difficult. She was praying, there were a lot of tears. She was just really, really holding on to hope that her little boy would get the surgery that he needed. And finally, he made it just in time. He was well enough, and they were like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to give him his surgery. And it was just this amazing moment for their family, where it was really like you could just see their prayers had been answered in such a tangible way. And then he got his surgery, and he did extremely well through his recovery. And he recovered really, really nicely. His legs were so straight and so strong by the end of his rehab journey. And so I think for me, the thing that stuck out about their story was it was this mother's perseverance of she wanted this so badly for her son to have this future that would be, he would be set up for a better future if he was healed. And she just would not give up on him getting surgery, and just kept praying and kept hoping. And to see that, you know, that fulfilled for them was just an amazing thing.
That's
So,
wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much both for your time today. It's really, really amazing to hear your stories and hear
You're
about the
very
impact.
welcome.
And yes, yeah, just wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
much.